Hello, and welcome to the Tuning In podcast. I'm Dana Evans, your inner voice and emotional support coach. In this podcast, we explore the deep wisdom that lives in our bodies, emotions, and inner voice. Together, we'll shed the layers that no longer serve us, creating space to tap into the flow of life and experience true ease. So, are you ready to join me? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Tuning In podcast. This is episode 134, and this is the start of a brand new season. It is a brand new season because, well, I have not recorded since February. So welcome to season 5 of the Tuning In podcast. It is December of 2023 when I'm recording this. My last update was the end of February of 2023. And I just wanted to sit down and pause. I have so much content for you all. I have so many things that I want to share. I have a lot of episodes that I've kind of put together that are things that I've gone through recently that I feel like would be really valuable. For example, how I healed my perioral dermatitis that I'd gotten for 7 years straight, how I healed that naturally when years and years of doctors were unable to help me. And I have a fun little how I got here episode that I'm going to be recording with my coach, Lauren Armstrong, that talks all about emotions and inner voice. And I just have a lot of content, but I was kind of delaying it because I wasn't sure how to come back. And so I imagined if I hadn't talked to a friend since February and I had told her we were moving to Santa Fe, New Mexico from Golden, Colorado, and now it's December and I'm seeing her or talking to her again for the first time, I'm like, okay, what would I want to tell her? So this episode is our bridge episode. It's going to get us back into the flow. It's me getting back used to talking into the podcast microphone. Oh my gosh, I still do not know where to set up. I am currently set up in the guest room, and if you could see my setup, it is a mess. The podcast is sitting on a pillow. I'm sitting on the floor, but this is definitely the quietest room in the house, and John is gone today, so I can record here. His office is right next to the guest room, and he's on calls all day long when he's working. So I can't really record in here when he's home. I recorded one episode in my office, but my office is ironically the most echoey room in the house. I need to deck it out so it doesn't echo. And our bedroom is big. This time recording in the closet doesn't work so well because our new house has all tile. So it's not as grounded in the sound. So bear with me while we figure out sound. But welcome back. How have you been? How are you? If you are listening, thank you so much for listening. If you're new, welcome. We have 133 episodes that have gotten us here, and now we're kind of heading in the next direction. But welcome back. I am so excited to just be sharing content again, using this outlet, connecting with you all, and really creating valuable resources that you can come back to, you can share again and again. And that does remind me, as I'm kind of relaunching the episodes, if you have anyone that you would like to share this with, it is hugely helpful for you to share episodes and for you to go onto iTunes and rate and review. So leave a rating, write a review, share with your friends, anyone who you think this would resonate with, let them know. Most of my work, really probably all of my work, whether it's with clients or my podcast or my emails, is really word of mouth. So if you're listening and you love this and you want to share, I would be so deeply grateful. So thank you so much. So we left off in February when I was about to move. I'm not about to move, where we knew we were going to move. It is crazy. I can't believe I waited so long to share. I just didn't have the energy for it. My energy was really inward. I wasn't feeling really connected to sharing in this way. I've been really on and off Instagram this past year, where I go off for weeks at a time, or then I'm on. Everything has kind of been uprooted as we are preparing the move. So in February, I announced it, but we did not move until June. So we officially got here to New Mexico in June of 2023. So we got here on June 28th. And leading up to that was so crazy. I think I visited Santa Fe like 8 times this year before I moved here in June because we were building our house and I was very involved in that in this community. Like we picked a floor plan, but then I was extremely involved in designing and creating my home, which was I should probably do a whole episode on this. It was such a beautiful process. Turns out I love design and I love home design. And this is something that I've really gotten into. I've always loved homes and home organization, but now I can add home design to my list of things that really bring me joy. So I got to create, within limits, but I got to create this home that I had a vision for. I used Pinterest and it was beautiful. It is beautiful. I'm so in love with our home. So I had to come down here a lot. We had so much going on. John was like extremely busy with work and it was just all sorts of stuff going on. So that was the beginning of the year. And then you just wouldn't believe. I mean, anyone who's moved knows this, but I just could not believe how much stuff we had. I have gone through so many iterations of clearing out. We'd lived in our previous house for 12 years. And I just could not believe, even though I felt like our house wasn't very full of stuff, and I don't think it was by most standards, but I went through so many iterations of clearing out, of taking things to Gone for Good, which is this really beautiful program in Denver that helps really actually repurpose stuff versus just junking it at the Goodwill where it like goes to die. But they have a nonprofit, they work with the homeless community. I had so much moral stress about getting rid of stuff because I didn't want it to just end up at a junkyard. Oh my gosh, it caused so much inner turmoil. But thank God for this company, Gone for Good. They did like at least 4 pickups, including one the day before we left. And it was really alarming. And now we're in our new house and I'm like, I still feel like we have too much stuff. And like, why do we have all this stuff? It's mostly me. I will say that. John is not a collector of stuff. I'm a collector of stuff and I'm a clearer of stuff. So it's kind of, I'm always playing that balance of being really intentional in what I bring in and also intentional about removing things because I do like to buy things. I'm not going to pretend to be some like minimalist Buddhist who doesn't consume. I do. I like to buy things. I love beautiful things. I love products. If anyone has followed me on Instagram, you see how many times I have to clear out my linen closet, toiletries, all of that. But like, it was so intense. So I don't even know. Honestly, I can't really tell you what happened between March and June. Except I was in Santa Fe a lot. I was doing a lot of house clearing and I did not have a lot of outward energy. I was doing a lot of one-to-one work with clients. So then we moved here in June. I drove out the week before and drove my car out to leave it here with my parents. And we did the final walkthrough of the brand new home. It was very special. And then I drove home with my parents. And then John and I drove down. He drove the moving truck. So we hired movers, but we did all of the packing. And honestly, I knew we were going to move for so long. And yet I think 95% of the moving happened within the 2 weeks before we left. We had so many house showings. We were also having to sell our house. So that was like really stressful. We'd have to go in the car with Mia and like wait for people to see. It's like a lot of that was going on. But I cannot believe that I did not prep myself better to move. I just didn't. 2 weeks before we move is when we do like 90% of the packing. Actually, 90% of it probably happened the week before we moved. And then 10% happened 2 weeks before we moved. And the movers came. They were awesome. And they loaded this truck. And we did like last minute, we had to change from a 16-foot truck to a 20-foot truck. And we packed that thing to the brim. And to this day, I don't know what was in there because y'all, we did not have a lot of furniture. I didn't bring our couch. I brought our bed frame, our dining room table, John's desk, my desk, one chair, our one console table, and like 2 nightstands. I swear that's all the furniture we brought. And yet our truck was full. Everything else I got new. I mean, I got a new couch, I got new bar stools and chairs for the dining room, I got a new guest room bed and mattress, outdoor chairs. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I brought. I don't know where it is now. And yet we filled the 20-foot truck. And then John drove that truck and I drove with Mia in our car. It was stressful. So we got here and we had trouble finding a moving company to unload us, but last minute we found someone. We got here and the sales guy for our house is like kind of a dope. Like he's not particularly helpful. He's nice enough, but he just like was not great at his job. And I told him we were coming that day. I told him what time we expected to arrive. I called him an hour before arrival. I said, I'm going to be here in an hour. He's like, great. I have a thing I have to get to, but I'll unlock your house and leave your keys in there. I was like, fine. So I get there. I'm with Mia. We've been driving for 7 hours and I go in and the freaking front door is locked. And meanwhile, there's like a half an hour before the movers come to like unload us. So I call him and he's like, oh, I forgot to do that. I'm in town. I'll have to come back in a half hour. So I'm sitting there waiting with my cat. I have to pee. I am exhausted. It has been such a stressful day. The night before was so stressful, like all of this stuff. And he finally comes back. I get in, put Mia in a room, do a quick unload. John gets there and immediately the movers arrive. Okay, the first guy arrives and I was trying to talk to him and he's fucking deaf. Fine if he's deaf, but guys, no one at the moving company told us that the main guy who would be working with is deaf. Like no heads up, no alert. And it's like, it's dark now. It's like 7 p.m. And I'm like, I am at the end of my rope and I'm pissed. He starts like pulling stuff out of the truck and it's like kind of chaotic. This other guy then shows up. They're stomping around. I can't really communicate with this guy. And really kind of compared to the moving experience of the guys who loaded our truck, this is awful. So John and I don't trust them. This is our brand new, pristine, perfect house. And they're like lugging and throwing stuff. And we're like, we can't let them bring stuff in the house. They're going to bang up the walls. They're going to scratch the floors. Like so we ended up paying the same price. It was such a fucking ripoff. We paid the same price for them to spend an hour unloading the truck into the garage. They didn't assemble our bed. They didn't do anything because we ended up being like, this is too much. We don't want them in our house. We spent the same amount as for the guys who spent like 4.5 hours with 4 guys doing an immaculate job of taking our bed apart, wrapping stuff up, and loading the truck. It cost the same to have this like chaotic crew of 3. It was kind of like 2.5 people because one of the guys like kind of didn't really do anything and who I really couldn't communicate with. And I just broke down crying. Because then they left. Of course, John and I get in a fight because that's what happens at the end of days like this. And what I realized is the reason I was so upset is that he never got to see the house in the beautiful, pristine, perfect, brand new house. He hadn't seen it for months. And so I had this vision that I wasn't even totally aware of where we arrive at the house, we get in, and like I walk him through our beautiful home. But what ends up happening is we get there, it was so stressful, so chaotic. They did bring some of the stuff in, but like the majority we left. But they brought a lot of like just the boxes in. I had them like by section, just like pile them into it areas. But they didn't bring any like big heavy stuff in. But immediately like they leave and our house is a mess. And like we'd been living in mess for 2 weeks. And I was just like, there goes the perfect moment. And I was so upset and just like crying. I was so upset. So I was able to communicate that with John and we didn't eat dinner that night. It was like 9 o'clock by the time the guys left. Nothing's open. Santa Fe like closes down at like 9. So we were starving. We ate like Midday Squares. Shout out to Midday Squares. Oh my gosh. In my future vision, I want to have podcast sponsors for all of my favorite products because y'all, when I love a product, I am so in love with it. I'm so loyal. I want everyone to use it. Midday Squares are my favorite snack. They're so delicious. They are like a balance of like protein and carb. Oh my gosh, this is not an ad, but I'm just so in love with them. So we had Midday Squares for dinner and went to bed. And the next day, John worked. This is so John. I had set up the internet installation. I had set up our fridge to be delivered, all this stuff. And he worked that day. And kind of from then on, so he took one day off during our entire move. Oh no, he took 2 days off. He took Tuesday, the 27th to pack and the 28th to drive. And that was it. So that next day, like we're there, I drive into town, get breakfast burritos and coffee in the morning. It was actually really special that morning. I ran into these people at the coffee shop who were like in my industry. Like they were church leaders and therapists and coaches. They randomly sat next to me at the coffee shop and we struck up conversation. So to me, that felt like a really beautiful nudge from the universe of like, it's okay. You're here. Things are going to be good. Your people are here. So that was a little nice grounding moment. But it was intense. I will say, like, let me back up real quick. After we loaded the truck on the 27th, my parents were there helping. They were so great. And then it was probably like 8 o'clock. We did end up going to New Terrain Brewing, which was our favorite brewery in Golden. And we got there and like we watched the sunset because it was summer. It was sunsetting early. We had a beer. It was quiet. We had some food and it was a really perfect closing moment for our lives there in Colorado. So I do want to like honor that before just like talking about all the stress because it was such a beautiful closeout. That is the place we spent so much time and it held so much meaning. So it was really special. And John was like, we have to go. I was like, okay. So that like we closed out and then slept on the air mattress and did another 3 hours of packing on our own that next day before our drive. And then it's like, I'm like looking at the calendar. It's so weird. It's like, right, the 27th, we lived in Colorado. The 28th, we drove to Santa Fe. And the 29th, we live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, right? So from there, it was just a lot of unpacking. And those first 2 weeks, I so honored my body. And I remember wanting to record a podcast about this to share with everyone because your body is so wise and it really knows how to take care of you. And those first 2 weeks, the things that I was doing, I would basically have like 3 or 4 hours of energy in the morning. I didn't have much work going on. I did have calls, one-to-one sessions, but my calendar wasn't too crazy. So I just like did a couple hours of unpacking in the morning. The first day, the 29th, I did our bedroom and I made it beautiful because that is an important space to me. So I set up our bed and got it actually quite pretty. But then from then on, I just kind of worked in like energy surges and I would work in the, like unpack in the morning and then I'd go into town. We didn't cook for 2 weeks because the kitchen wasn't unpacked. That was a huge project. So I would go into town, get us some food, pick up carrot cake from this restaurant in town that I love. That would be like after the morning stuff. And then I would come home, eat lunch on the couch and watch Yellowstone. I'd never seen that show before and I started watching it and that was like what I did every afternoon. Then we would either go to dinner or I would go back into town, pick up dinner, bring it home and we'd eat dinner. And I just remember like sitting there at the time, like watching myself thinking, gosh, this is my rhythm. Like my body naturally found it. Now, other people's minds could have been like, oh my gosh, you're eating carrot cake every day, or you're getting takeout, or you should get things done faster. Like there's a lot of stories that your mind can have about what it means when you make a big transition. But for me, I'm like, we live here now. We have time. I'm in under no agenda to like get the house a certain way by a certain time. And I'm going to like take this at a pace that feels really good and allowing my entire frickin' system to adjust to this massive transition that we just had. Like, yes, this was a change for the better. We're happy about it, but like, it's still a big shift for the body. And like, you have to find what your body needs. And the way you find that is through rest, right? To have that downtime and to honor that was just so good. And I remember John during that time, he's like, oh, I don't know why I'm so tired. I'm like, because we just had a major move. Like mentally, it's a lot. Physically, it's a lot. Emotionally, it's a lot. Energetically, it's a lot. Like, of course we're tired. It's okay, right? So that was the first 2 weeks. And it was honestly, I loved it. I just really deeply loved it. Like I just didn't feel pressure to do anything except show up for the calls that I had to show up for, like client sessions that were scheduled, and then tend to my home and my body. That was it. I didn't work out. I did walk. I started walking around our neighborhood to like get grounded, and I was not sleeping. I didn't sleep for like the first 6 weeks of living here. I had the worst sleep. It was terrible. I was jumpy. I was scared. I was stressed. I did a lot. Oh my God, that's a whole nother story. I did a lot of work around that and some past life clearing that I can share about too. But then the third week, so we moved on the 28th, the 14th of July, I drove back to Colorado to go see Taylor Swift with Daniela, my sister-in-law. So she and my brother flew in from Incline Village, Lake Tahoe, Nevada. They flew in. We went to Taylor Swift together, Daniela and I, on the 15th. And then she and my brother drove back home to New Mexico with me on the 16th. So I got there the 14th. We saw Taylor Swift on the 15th, and we drove home on the 16th. And then they spent a week with us, and they were so incredibly helpful. Okay, so my human design people, John and Daniela are manifestors. So undefined sacral. I'm a projector, undefined sacral. My brother is a generator, defined sacral. So he has access to energy. So it's this really beautiful experience of they helped us a lot. My brother hung our TV. The biggest project they helped us do, which I really needed help with, was the kitchen. We spent 2 days really getting the kitchen all unpacked. And the beautiful thing about my brother is that that was his week off. He was changing jobs. So he had the week off. Danielle had the week off. I was pretty spacious that week. So he like knows when enough is enough, which is a generator thing or a defined sacral. Or I guess I should say the shadow side of an undefined sacral is not knowing when enough is enough, where I talk about this a lot. I get stuck in on mode. So it's like I'm doing a project and then like I get so hooked into it that I can't stop because I don't know when I'll have the energy again. But often I go so far that I get so tired and worn out that like I overdo it. So we were doing projects in the morning, and then Ian would be like, okay, this is fine. Let's clean up now. Like, let's go on a walk. Let's go to dinner. Let's have a drink. Let's chill so that we can do it again tomorrow. It was so great. So I loved having them come. We got the kitchen sorted, which was huge, and like cooked in the kitchen for the first time. So that was really special. And from there, we had quite a few visitors. John's sister came, his parents came, my brother and Daniela came again. I went to go visit them to see Beyonce. John and I went to Buena Vista for a concert. A lot was going on. I went to Sedona in October. Then I went to Denton Hot Springs, which is a whole nother story. But the time was just spent slowly and surely getting the house settled. And it's still not done. I would say where we're at today, all the major stuff's done. So John's office is set up, my office set up, the guest room set up, our bedroom set up, living room, dining room is set up. And we have like the core main furniture, right? We have rugs, we have chairs, couch, beds, office stuff. And I have these just beautiful visions for so much more that I want to create. One thing we're doing next weekend when John's parents come is we have a little bonus room in the garage. So we're going to get that set up as our gym. So that's going to be a really great project to do. I want to turn my office into like a library office. So I want to get like floor to ceiling bookshelves and like big fluffy carpets and dark wallpaper and make it this like cozy vibe. I have this amazing vision for our powder room that's going to be like a Santa Fe dusty pink and green cactus vibes for our powder room, which has this really cool brick tile floor that I selected. So like I have this whole vision for that room with the mirror, the light, like I have that already planned out. The guest room, I'm going to put some curtains in and just like vibe it up a little bit. We did get blinds in the whole house. That was like a whole nother project that I went through, which was like, oh my God. Our bedroom has like a whole little sitting area, which I'm going to turn into like a cozy nook. I mean, all of this is eventual, right? Our closet, I just did a little bit ago, like a deep organization, but that closets are tough. Like it really needs so much vision, but that's okay. We have to do our whole backyard. We have a yard now, which is so exciting, but we need to do landscaping. And that's one we decided not to do until next spring. And we don't have any bookshelves. And John and I are both just like big, big readers. And so we have closets full of books. So I need to find bookshelves. And that's kind of why I want my office to be a library. And John's will kind of be a scientific textbook library. And mine will be like personal development and novel library. So if you guys come over, you can choose which library you want to visit for reading. And there's just so much. But it also just feels so great because it's like we live here now. We're going to be here for a while and we get to take our time. And I have this really strong vision for my home and what I'm creating. And so it's helped me be really intentional in what I purchase. I'm really intentional about like the quality and the sourcing of what I'm purchasing. And, you know, this is the first time we've really done our house. John's parents keep trying to bring us old stuff, which was great when we had our first apartment out of college and even when we moved into our condo. But I'm like, no, I don't want your old stuff. Like, yes, okay, I'll look at it, but I'm not just taking things to take them because we're not college students anymore. And like, I have a really specific vision and a really intentional energy that I'm bringing into the house. So I don't just want random crap. So I've had to really kind of step up and put my foot down of like what I will take and what I won't. Because I'm like, one, I don't need more stuff just for the sake of stuff. And two, if it doesn't fit my vision, I'm not taking it. I'd rather wait and buy the thing that I really want than just have the random thing. So anyway, that is where we're at. I am sleeping so great now. I feel like that should be a separate story. So separate stories are the sleep, what actually went into designing my home and like what I'm creating. I think those are two that I'll block out as separate stories. But now we're here. We're in December. I hope this is at least fun for you to kind of hear the updates. I always love hearing people's behind the scenes of like what's been going on. I just think it's really interesting. But yeah, we're home. It's December. It's winter. I'm really hunkering down in the winter. Our house is cold. We got this heat pump. We did a lot of that type of thing. A heat pump is supposed to be a more energy efficient heating system, but we don't like quite understand it yet. So like right now I'm home. A house is set to 75 degrees, which is really warm, but it's at 64 and it like won't get above 64. So our house is quite cold. Thank God for the biomat. I love the biomat. It is this crystal heated mat that has a permanent location on our couch. And we all just, Mia loves it. I love it. John loves it. We just sit on it. It warms us up. It charges us. I don't know what it does, but I love it. Definitely using a lot of corn bags that you heat up in like the oven or the microwave. It's like it has grains of rice or corn in there. I'm wearing a lot of wool and socks and warm things, making lots of hot cocoa and yeah, just really enjoying that we have this beautiful home to be hunkered down in when it's cold. And also this beautiful neighborhood. I mean, you walk outside and yes, we're in a neighborhood, but this neighborhood is a dark sky community and they prioritize 50% ratio of homes to open space. So you walk outside and there's just trails and nature. And my daily walk, I never see people or houses. Like I just go outside, pop out, and then you see the sunset on one side, the sunrise on the other. It's mountains on both sides of us. You see the open sky, all these cactuses. I'm just loving desert landscape. I don't think this is for everyone, but I am so in love with the high desert. You know, we're at 6,500 feet, which is about where we were in Golden, but we're less forest. I mean, we're in New Mexico, right? So we are in a desert. So pinyon pines, juniper trees, all sorts of cactus, these beautiful sagebrush grasses, and red dirt. And so I'm just loving the energy. I'm loving the environment. Santa Fe, we read that, and a lot of people we talk to who live here have shared this. It's like it either takes you in and like calls you or it kicks you out. And we definitely have felt taken in. Like I have met so many great people. finding all your new appointments. I found a cool biological dentist. I found a lady who does leg sugaring, and she's a local and she's like full of resources. We're going skiing for the first time this weekend at the Santa Fe Mountain. We bought ski passes. John and I have never skied together because I only learned a couple of years ago in Lake Tahoe with my brother, and he's been snowboarding for most of his life. So we're going to ski this weekend, and we love the food here. And we also have just been spending most of our time at home, kind of hermiting and cooking and just enjoying life here. So it is really special. I am so happy for the move. Honestly, we don't even think, like, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, do you think about our old house or miss it? He's like, no. And I don't either. I loved Colorado and everything it gave us. I'm from there. And now that we're here, I just don't miss it. It's a very hard thing for me to grasp because I really thought I would. If I really think about it, like I kind of miss a couple of the coffee shops, and I knew everyone everywhere, but I'm already kind of creating that here. It's just like this lifestyle and location really suits us. Mia is so happy. She loves the bigger house that's like one floor, and she just like bolts around the house. She's gotten so fast and she has so much fun running. We got her a bird feeder. I have a couple bird feeders now. She loves watching the birds every day, all day, every day. And we all feel at home here. It was almost instant. Like we got here and we're like, yeah, this is home. John's runs are so fulfilling for him. He loves the runs. I bike with him and it's just gorgeous. I remember the first time I joined him on his 10-mile, I biked, he ran, I joined him. And you get out to this one area and like, I'm doing it now. I had this huge yawn and my whole system just like released because you're out far away from everything and you just look and see expansive land. And that was early on in July. My jaw had been tense, I think, because I'd been like really focused on doing. And I'm out there on the bike ride and it was just like, okay, this is why we're here. We have the most beautiful sunrises and sunsets every day. The sunsets are just stunning. And you can see them from our window, or we walk out to this little outdoor viewing area and you can just watch it for so long as the sun sets behind the mountain. And it's just beautiful. So we love being here. That's my little transition update. If you have any questions about the move or any of it, let me know. There's so many things I could talk about, but I just wanted to catch you up to like how I got here and what's been going on. And then we'll kind of just keep moving forward. So with that, thank you as always for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have some really special things coming up. I have a new audio program called Emotions Decoded that is on pre-sale. I have some one-to-one slots opening up and a program called Nesting coming up in January to help you embrace the winter the way I am doing it here. So stay tuned, share if this resonates, and of course, rate and review on iTunes. And of course, I will see you next week on the Tuning In podcast. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Tuning In podcast. If you loved this episode, please rate and review it or share it with a friend. If you want to go deeper into the realm of emotions and learn the language of your body, check out my audio course, Emotions Decoded, at alignful.com/audio. As always, you can follow along with my journey on Instagram at Dana_Evans. See you next time.